Good day, everyone. This is your instructor, Julius, and today I will be going over some things that you should be aware of and know when you're making a sketch, a part on your own, for your own little project, and especially for when it comes down to the certification. So, first thing we're going to do, or I'm going at least going to do, is I'm going to make a sketch. And first thing I'm going to point out is that if you look on the very bottom right, not the very bottom, but to left from the IPS, your units, you see a thing that says underdefined. And with this, as you gradually put more lines and detail into your sketch, it will change from underdefined to fully defined to overdefined, and that's just telling you how much detail, not detail, but like your dimensions, how much you're putting into it. If you put in too much, you're you won't be able to make any more smart dimensions, only leaving you with what you already have established. And there are ways to get around that sometimes. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a line. I'm going to go here, draw a line, and I'm going to draw another line. Now, if you notice, both lines have two different colors. Top being blue, as you can see, and the top being black. And this indicates there being a form of a definition. Clearly, as you can tell, I don't have a smart dimension on them yet. But when you make a sketch, you're going to want a black line because that limits you on contorting and misshaping your piece when your blue part is basically loose. It has no restrictions, so you can warp your piece, which is what you don't want. And as you can tell, both of these lines, they both have little green squares. In the center of both, they have a green square with a line through it. And that indicates that there is a horizontal relation, being that there is a horizontal line. Now, if you look at your coincident point, that's just indicating that 2 points from two different lines have come together. And for this instant, I have the coincident point being at origin, which when you make a part and when you sketch, you do want to start off typically off of origin. You don't have to put the very end point. You could work off it being the center, but that's something you need to look out for. Sometimes it will specify where you need it, and sometimes it won't. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this blue line. Now I'm going to go and just draw a line here and draw a line here. So, and same thing with this, as you could tell, another black line came and took place. And these two immediately happened because they're off of the point of origin. So now, you could, let's say if you're making a regular shape where both the left and right sides are two different sizes, you could go ahead, just establish their heights. So, there you go. But Now, if you add, let's say the top, you're going to end up running into too many dimensions, which, if you look right here, is fully defined. What you can do, it's, let's say, we'll just delete this dimension. Now, I'm going to left click, control, left click this line, and now you have a bunch of other relations taking place. You have vertical now, which once again is just identifying that the line's running vertically. You have collinear, then you have perpendicular, a line is reaching the point of another line, not necessarily at an endpoint. It could be a midpoint or somewhere in between the midpoint and endpoint. Parallel, if you want to make a parallelogram and you want your lines to run the same direction, you can use a parallel. This, I will use an equal, and now the side that didn't have a dimension is now set to this. So, whenever you want, you could change this. So let's say you want a 5. You set it 5. And it's going to make this side the same thing because they're equal to one another. Alright. So now, I'm going to go ahead and just cap it off. And still, as you could tell, it still states that it is fully defined. One of the relations, when I did pull up the relations bar, setting equal the left and right lines, one relation did not occur, and that's your tangent relation. Your tangent relation works best and optimal when you're dealing with some kind of curve or a circle. So I'm just going to go ahead, delete this line, in which, as you could tell, the equal is no longer present. So I'm just going to go here, make a circle, set it to 1. You're going to grab the line. And if you run up, this just makes it coincident. Which, dealing in a scenario like this, having a line meet a circle, this is all it's doing. It's just the two just come into contact. But what you're going to want is have it combine, more or less flow into one another. So you just click to the side. So now, left click the line, control, click the circle. You're going to click tangent. So now what this does, it joins them together as if it's one flow. So now you can go here, get rid of that part of the circle, get rid of that, and now you have something defined. Somewhat now. In which, as you can see, there's still the blue lines, and this goes into my point earlier. Now, if I grab these parts, these blue lines are only going to move, and that's it. Which, that's the last thing you want, compared to having this black line, and it just stays there. So what you're going to do is you're going to click this point right here. We're going to set it to fix. And now it's one solid black line. And we could grab a point and it won't move. So now I'm going to go over the material properties. And kind of help visualize. I'm just going to go here. I'm just going to extrude it. Nothing in particular. So from here, if we look at we go under evaluate, we look under mass properties, you look at this right here, we have density, mass, volume, and surface area. Since our part doesn't have any specific material, it just goes to a default. So, your density and mass are going to be, best way to put default, there's nothing specific to go with it. And one thing, and I'm pointing this out, is when you do some of the homeworks and practice problems, and especially the certification, it will ask you to make the part and put it under some kind of property. So to access these material properties, we're going to right click here, we're going to move down to material, we're going to edit material, and now we have all the materials that SOLIDWORKS offers. And if we look at each one, they have a corresponding value for each aspect. You get mass and density, tensile strength. So for this, I'm just going to go here. We're going to say gray cast iron, which if you look at this, it has its own set of values corresponding to gray cast iron reality. So we click apply, and just to be safe, we'll click apply again. We exit. Now, as you can tell, the part is in a different color. It's not in that kind of gray that seems to be like a model or clay. So now, if you go back to evaluate, mass properties, our density and mass and volume have all changed. Probably not volume, but the mass and density has changed for it to correspond to the gray cast iron. And that's all I wanted to discuss within this video. I just wanted to point out these three aspects, defining where to locate it, give you the heads up, and if it does occur, you have your relations to help counter out certain situations. And I also discuss how to acquire those relations. And the last thing was material properties. I hope you found this video useful. I look forward to instructing you another day.